Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video. You might see something slightly unusual going on with my views in the cockpit here. I'm using the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. Tobii reached out to me via Mark at SimHanger. He got in touch with them for me, and then they reached out to me and sent me a Tobii Eye Tracker 5 for a purpose of making a review, and so I can use it for myself as well, of course. Now, even though they did that, well, first I'm going to give you an overview of what Tobii is and its uses. I'm also going to compare it with other head trackers out there like the TrackIR and D-Line Clip, which I've reviewed in the past. And in the end, I'm going to give you my conclusion and recommendation for the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. Okay, I'm just taking a look over my bonnet there. Let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with this video. So what exactly is the Tobii Eye Tracker? Well, it's a sensor bar in itself, effectively. I'm going to show you this later, but it just fits at the bottom of your monitor, either a straight monitor or curved monitor. And without using additional head trackers like the TrackIR or D-Line Clip, without using additional head trackers or sensors, you can simply use your eyes and your head to look around your environment naturally. As you can see with this demonstration here, and you've got various different demonstrations, as you can see here as well. And it just lets you look around naturally, just using your head and your eyes. Now, I believe Tobii is a Swedish company, and the eye tracking technology here is used in the professional medical field as well. So these chaps are on the top of their chain, at the top of their profession. It's not cheap, and I will come back to this later. It's around £280 UK, but I will put a 5% discount link. That would be my own affiliate link, and you will need to follow that to get the 5% discount, so you can get this a little bit cheaper. Anyway, in a nutshell, that's what the Tobii Eye Tracker is. Let me show you now the contents of what you get in the box. The packaging that the Tobii Eye Tracker comes in is quite discreet and quite minimal as well. Comes in an outer box, and then you get the inner box of the Tobii Eye Tracker. All very nice and professional, as you would expect. So all these bits basically fit inside this box there. There's just a couple of warranties in there. That's the Tobii Eye Tracker. That's the sort of main article itself. I'll show you that in more detail later. You affix that to the front of your monitor, or to the bottom front of your monitor. It's got pictorial instructions on this part, an extension cable, in case the actual cable on the actual Tobii Eye Tracker is not long enough for you. You've got an extension cable, different methods of fitting the actual eye tracker to your monitor. I'll show you that in more detail a little bit later as well. A wipe, so you can wipe the front of your monitor. There you go, it's all pretty straightforward and minimal, not overbearing packaging whatsoever, which is nice to see. That was a nice surprise. So let's get this fixed up on front of my monitor, and I can show you the Tobii Eye Tracker in operation. So here's my Tobii Eye Tracker, the blinking thing you can see through the camera at the bottom of my monitor. Now, just to say, the camera's picking up that blinking. It looks pink on the camera. To my eyes, I just get a dull red light when looking at the Tobii Eye Tracker. So you won't be seeing this if you own the Tobii Eye Tracker. It's just the camera's picking it up. It's actually quite a nice effect that it's picking up the infrared. But of course, you won't see that. That's just through the camera's eyes. Now, once you have it... Oh, by the way, I've used, on my monitor, my simple 25-inch monitor, I know an upgrade is due, a magnetic strip there that comes with the package. And this just basically clips on. So if you want to move the eye tracker away and put it away for some reason, if you're moving or you just don't want to use it, you can put that away and just leave the magnetic strip on your monitor, which is quite a nice feature. Once you plug that into a USB 3 cord, I'm just using the lead that comes from the Tobii eye tracker. It will automatically load up the Tobii experience, at least in Windows 10. This automatically loaded up for me. And in here, I've got a profile set up, James. I'll show you this through the camera view. And you can improve your calibration if you want to. Now, first thing it will say is actually run the calibration. Let me just show you this. I wonder if this will record. There you go. See how much you can move around. I've just got to get my eyes. Yeah, there you go. So I'm just angling the phone, keeping an eye on both. And basically, it tells you to look at each dot to calibrate your eyes. So this is how you calibrate your eye tracking. Come on and explode. Thank you. So I'm just looking, I'm keeping my head still, just looking at each dot with the corner of my eyes. So there you go. I think there's one more screen where you have to do that. So I'm not moving my head. There you go. So calibration is complete there. Then it will come out of that, and the calibration is successful, as you can see there. Then it will go back to the Tobii experience. Just give it a moment there. Just takes a while. What we can do is actually demonstrate. Let's just see. Preview my gaze. So if I put that on, just move the camera out of the way. Wherever I point my eyes, I'm keeping my head still. But you see that bubble? And I'll show you this in the sim later as well. Let me just get the camera straight for you. Wherever I move my eyes, it's actually previewing. So if you can imagine, if you want to use eye tracking in a game, in Flight Sim, isn't that a neat little thing? So there you go, let's just take that off. So that's what it looks like. It doesn't quite look like that in real life, it's just picking up the infraredness through the camera. It just looks like a dull red light when looking at it with the naked eye. What I'll do, I'll load up Flight Sim, and I'll show you the Tobii eye tracker in operation in Flight Simulator. So here I am now, full screen in the sim. Now I've got an app called Tobii Ghost on. That bubble you can see is where my eyes are looking. So if I look at my left G1000, you can see that Ghost is showing exactly where my eyes are looking. I'm looking at the right G1000, looking at the compass, looking at these people who are flying around. If I look towards the edge, the screen will slightly move just so I can get into view what I'm looking at. And the settings I'm going to show you in a moment in the sim where you can alter that, which is fantastic. So there you go. That's basically the eye tracking in play. Now you don't have to have that bubble on. You can just put it on or off. In fact, I've got a key. Just a second. I just need to look at my keyboard so I can turn it off. So I can still look around and move my head. Actually, with it off, I've got mainly head tracking on with some eye tracking, as you saw, enabled. So I'm just moving my head maybe 20 degrees, just slightly left or right. I'm keeping my eyes on the monitor as I'm turning my head slightly left or right. That's the way it works. If I turn my head a little bit more, I can get to see right behind me, but I can still see what's going on my monitor. So as you can see, that's how the tracking works, and it's got an auto sensor, so it will bring you back to the center, your cockpit display. And I've also set up a button on my yoke to turn it off, so wait, if I want to go and land and want to look around normally, I can do that, press that button again, I can simply turn it on. Press the button for the ghost. I've got the ghost on as well, isn't that fantastic? Let me just show you a few settings in the sim. Just going to turn Ghost off while I do this, otherwise it's going to get a bit confusing. Now, when you plug the Tobii eye tracker in and start Microsoft Flight Sim, you should see this, a Tobii profile come up. There's no keybinds, there's no keys on it, so there's not going to be any keys, but there are sensitivities. And this is where the beauty of the program, of the product lies for me. The first one is eye versus head. Now you can see, I've got it more veered towards head tracking with a little bit of eye tracking in there. If I put it the other way, so I'm going to do mainly eye tracking, let's say there, press done, apply and save, go back, resume. Let me just sit back so my view is centered. Bring on that ghost. If I move my eyes now, my eyes are controlling the head tracking, so I'm not using my head to track. It's a bit distracting in the sim. I can see this being useful in a first-person shooter. Not so much in the sim. So that's if you want to use eye tracking more. Let's turn the ghost off and go back to settings. I've got a few peripherals set up, as you can see here, so it could take me a while just to get back to... There we go, Tobii. So I'm going to reset that to default, which is 85% towards head tracking. I like it more on 90. I'm still playing around with these settings. These are not final for me, but you can copy what you've got here, what I've got here, if you like. You've got center stabilization, so it'll bring you back to center, as I just showed you. Head tracking sensitivities, and eye tracking responsiveness, all that good thing. Another important one here, though, is your head tracking position. I think by default it's on 0. Let's show you what happens. Apply and save, go back, resume. So I've still got head tracking on. If I move forward or backwards, I'm physically moving forward or backwards. I'm not leaning, the actual view's not moving. It will track me left or right, but it's not. If I want to get a close-up of my screens there, my G1000s, I can't. And that's set by default. Just be careful with that. So we go to control options. I'll show you that again. And we'll get back to Tobii, sensitivity and Tobii. So it's the head tracking position. It's on 0 by default. At least put it to 1 at least. I'm going to move it a bit more. Apply and save. Go back, resume. There you go. Now I have a lean forward. I'm just leaning forward. I can get a close-up of my G1000s just by leaning forward. It's kind of like virtual reality without having virtual reality. It's fantastic. Bring up that ghost bubble again, and you can see exactly where I'm staring. So it's handy if you're doing streaming and you want to show people exactly where you're staring and showing off the feature. So there you go. In a nutshell, that's what it is. And yeah, I am enjoying it, I've got to say. Of course, I can toggle that off. Still have the ghost on so you can see where I'm looking, but what's the use of that without head tracking? And yeah, it's handy. This is handy, especially when you're in airliners and you need to be very precise on your controls when setting controls or landing, I find. Oh look, there's an airport coming up ahead of me. Anyway, let's not do that. Let's now get on to my conclusion and recommendations. So it's the Tobii eye tracker worth buying? Is all the hype for it justified? I would say actually mainly yes it is. Before this, if I wanted something similar, I would either have to put my VR, my Oculus CV1 on, and I just wasn't keen on it, to be honest. It just wasn't my thing. Or use my D-Line clip. It's like a track IR alternative. A little bit cheaper. I'll link the video that I did of the D-Line clip down below in the description. But it was a pain to set up. I had to use things like OpenTrack. On that note, if you are using a D-Line clip currently, or even Track IR, and you have the Tobii eye tracker, you launch the sim, and nothing happens, Tobii eye tracker's not working, don't delete OpenTrack. I'm going to show you something on screen. Open it. You have to configure it to use free track. Then open the little hammer icon next to it, little setting icon. Open that up, and then you have to use... I'll show you on screen exactly what I did. And then you start and stop. Then the Tobii eye tracker works. Let's take that off screen. It was a bit of a pain to set up the D-Line clip. Good to use, good experience, especially in DCS world, but a bit of a pain. And I just preferred, let me just show you, I just ended up not using it, and actually just using my cockpit views as you can see here. Let me just enable Tobii again. As you can see the difference there. Now when I'm flying, if I don't have Tobii on and I'm not looking around naturally, and with the settings I've got set up currently, just all works fine. Very rarely do I have to reset my screen. Just lean in. It's lovely just to lean into your instruments just to see what they're doing in the Cessna 172 here. And when I'm coming up to something vital, I can just turn it off, and there you go. I can just relax and land the aircraft or whatever. Like I mentioned before, it's like having VR without having the headset on. It feels that good, especially when you're leaning into looking over the dashboard there. Oh, where's the runway? Oh, it's just ahead of me there. Well, it's actually London City just ahead of me. Sit back, look out the windows, look behind. I'm very excited to try this now with DCS World, especially with the Spitfire. Maybe you'll see a video upcoming on that. It's a recommendation from me, but just keep in mind, and I've just got to be transparent with you guys, it's not cheap. Around £280. Okay, you get that 5% off. You can knock a tenner off that. But it's still quite expensive. Now, looking at some of your setups and what people spend on a sim, people may not be blinking an eye at that, and this may be very attractive to you. If so, yep, go and get it. There are cheaper alternatives. Track-IR, the D-Line Clip especially. You may see an upcoming video on the D-Line Fusion, a wireless solution for that. There are cheaper alternatives. They're just, for me, they're just not quite as good. Just having that set up in front of me, not wearing those sensors on my head. I've got my headphones on at the moment, but I don't need any sensors to get this working. It's just genius. In my opinion, it's just genius, and I do recommend it under those provisions. But do let me know your own thoughts. See, I'm still using it here in external view. Leave your comments down below. Do you have it already? Are you tempted by it? It's only for PC, Microsoft Flight Simulator at the moment. Keep that in mind. I would love to see something like this on the Xbox, hopefully coming soon. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Give it a like. If you've enjoyed it, subscribe for more. And I'll see you soon.